When the American Africans started protesting against the white for their own rights. This movement came to be known as the Dash. You chose civil rights movement, and it is correct. In 1996, the Kerala government made some major changes in the state. 40% of the entire state budget was given to Dash. Good thinking. Panchayats is the right answer. Whose autobiography is Juthan? Correct response. Om Prakash Valmiki's is the most accurate answer.
Q6. Name the document that lays down the basic rules and regulations for people and the government in the country to follow.
Perfect. Constitution is the correct choice. It is disgraceful to live at the cost of one's self-respect. Self-respect is the most vital factor in life. Who said this? Sharp thinking. Baf Ambedkar is the right choice.
Article Dash of the Indian Constitution prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth.
Smart pick. 15 is the correct choice. What is shown in this picture? Clear logic. Your choice equity is sound and 100% true. The movement that started in the United States of America in the late 1950s to push for equal rights for African Americans. Smart move. Civil rights movement is an accurate answer. What is the full form of OFF? Well-reasoned. Universal Adult Franchise is the correct choice. Wells and tanks maintained out of public funds must be accessible by all citizens. This provision is converted under Dash. Great job, Article 15 is the accurate answer. It states that every adult in a country, irrespective of their wealth and the communities he belongs to, has one vote. Bravo, Universal Adult Franchise is the answer. Health education is also considered very important, and knowledge about health is Dash part of education at all levels. Well picked. An essential is the correct answer. In the year Dashi, the Supreme Court asked all the state governments to start midday meal program in their schools. Good job. Your answer 2001 works well here. The Dash is the cornerstone of our democracy, and we are represented in it through our elected representatives. Nice selection. Parliament is the correct and valid answer. During which year did the Supreme Court ordered all the states of India to start the midday meal scheme? Exactly. 2001 makes sense, and it is right choice. All adults, Dash or above, irrespective of their religion, education, caste, rich or poor, are allowed to vote. Well done. Aged 18 years is the right choice. Name the book written by Om Prakash Valmiki, which talks about his experiences of growing up as a Dalit boy. Ooh. Nicely done. Jut is a solid answer. Healthcare services provided by the government to uplift the health status of the population is known as. You got it? Your choice public healthcare facilities is right. Agitation of African American community regarding unequal treatment in United States was known as Dash. Excellent. Civil rights movement is a brilliant choice. Identify. Valid point. Prithviraj Chauhan is true. Dash Money is used by the government for funding developmental programs and services of healthcare. You're right. Tax is the correct answer.
In the late 1950s, a movement took place in the USA for the equal rights of African American. It was right again. Civil rights movement is a valid answer. The President of India and farmer need to follow different laws according to the Indian Constitution. On track, false is the correct answer. Many people die from -E and -diseases only because they don't get prompt and timely treatment. Nice work. You chose minor and curable, and it is correct. In which year came the order from Supreme Court that it's mandatory to give midday meal in school? Strong choice. 2001 is the right answer. What has been abolished by the government in recent years, and its practice is a punishable crime? Solid response. Untouchability is a valid choice. Women's have been employed to cook midday meal. This has helped in reducing caste inequality. Right choice. Dalit is the best answer. Choose the correct name of the African American who played an important role in the civil rights. Correct. Rosa Parks is the right answer. Indian government has tried to implement the equality through government schemes and programs. Great thinking. True is the right choice. The Supreme Court asked all other states in India to implement midday meal program within Dash. Excellent choice. 6 months is the right answer. Dash Act of 1964 prohibited discrimination on the basis of race, religion, and origin of nation. Excellent. Civil Rights Act is a brilliant choice. Which of the following is not a basis for discrimination according to the Indian Constitution? Great job. Favorite color is the accurate answer. Which article in the Indian Constitution states the prohibition of discrimination on any basis? Good job. Your answer, Article 15, works well here. In which grade was Om Prakash Valmiki told to sweep his school playground by his headmaster? Bravo. 4 is the answer. Almost half of the children in our country are Dash, as they do not get adequate food to eat. Sharp thinking. Undernourished is the right choice. Who was responsible for starting the civil rights movement in the United States of America? Perfect. Rosa Parks is the correct choice. Why were the Ansaris not given an apartment for rent, even though they had money to rent it? Well done. Because of their religion is the right choice. The 4 major castes emerged during the time of Dash. Clear logic. Your choice, Vedas, is sound and 100% true. Toa Matsya Sang is an organization fighting for the rights of displaced forest dwellers. Strong choice. True is the right answer. Universal adult franchise means every adult has the right to vote irrespective of his/her. You got it? Your choice, all of these, is right. In a democracy, people elect their representatives who run the government on their behalf. Smart move. True is an accurate answer. Several years ago, Costa Rica took a very important decision and decided not to have Dash. Nicely done. An army is a solid answer. What was the scheme brought up by the Government of India for the equality of disabled? Right choice. Disability Act is the best answer.
Which state was the first state in India to introduce midday meal scheme, and in 2001? Nice selection. Tamil over the over is the correct and valid answer.
All citizens have equal rights to use all public facilities provided by the government. Smart pick. True is the correct choice. Q7. Name the government scheme which includes to provide children with cooked lunch. You chose midday meal scheme, and it is correct. Economic equality does not mean that every individual will have same amount of wealth. Great thinking. True is the right choice. India is not the only country in the world that has been fighting to promote equality. Correct. True is the right answer. The Indian leader who faced caste discrimination at the age of 9 years was a dash. Valid point. Dr. Ambedkar is true. Making dash mandatory is one of the remarkable initiative of the government. You. Correct response. Health insurance is the most accurate answer. Dash were discriminated on the basis of race in North America before 1950s. Good thinking. Afro-Americans is the right answer. In the Indian Constitution, people of India has the right to vote. That is called as... Nice work. You chose Universal Adult Franchise, and it is correct. Values, beliefs, ideas, and characteristics passed from one generation to the next. Well reasoned. Culture is the correct choice. Which state is the first state in India to come up with the midday meal scheme? On track. TN is the correct answer. Equality refers to equal treatment to all without any discrimination based on ace dash. You're right. All of these is the correct answer. Dash is a key feature of democracy and influences all aspects of its functioning. Well picked. Equality is the correct answer. Who explained democracy as government of the people for the people by the people? Solid response. Abraham Lincoln is a valid choice. Dash treatment of any individual leads to the exploitation of his or her dignity. Exactly. Unequal makes sense, and it is right choice. What movement took place in the USA for the equal rights of African Americans? Right again. Civil rights movement is a valid answer. The health services provided by the private individuals or companies is called. Excellent choice. Private healthcare is the right answer. Which formal document recognizes every Indian's democratic right to equality? You're right. Constitution is the correct answer. Which people were expected to bring gifts for their king in the 17th century? On track. Samantha is the correct answer. Capacity to remain free from physical disorder, illness or injuries is called. Great thinking. Health is the right choice. Dash means all people are equally protected by law and no one is above law. Great job. Equality is the accurate answer. Name the person who was invited to the Bombay Presidency Maha Conference. Oh. Right again. B. Venkatrao is a valid answer. The teams demanded the right to continue their livelihood by organizing dash.
Bravo. Both A and B is the answer.
The chairperson of the drafting committee of Indian Constitution was dash.
Correct. Dr. Ambedkar is the right answer.
The state has the responsibility to ensure that citizens are provided with.
Good thinking. All of the above is the right answer.
What happens to equality when the same number is subtracted on both sides? Well reasoned. It remains the same is the correct choice. Dash refers to thinking of oneself and other persons as worthy of respect.
Excellent choice. Dignity is the right answer.
Dalit is a term that the so-called lower castes use to address themselves.
Well picked. True is the correct answer.
Midday meal scheme was introduced by the government of India in the year. Smart pick. 2001 is the correct choice. Dash women have been appointed to cook midday meal in government schools. Right choice. Dalit women is the best answer. The first state in India to introduce the midday meal scheme in 2001 was.
Correct response. Tamil Nadu is the most accurate answer.
The idea of universal adult franchise was based on the idea of inequality.
Excellent. False is a brilliant choice.
Which kind of inequality does Juthan by Om Prakash Valmiki talk about? Sharp thinking. Caste-based inequality is the right choice. What percentage of the state budget is allocated to Panchayat in Kerala? You chose 40%, and it is correct. One of the more common forms of inequality in India is the caste system. Valid point. True is true. Thanks to the women's liberation, women can take part in dash activities. Nice work. You chose social, and it is correct. Q4, which was the first state in India to introduce midday meal scheme. Exactly. Tamil Nadu makes sense, and it is right choice. Hakim Sheikh was given proper treatment in the first hospital they asked. Nice selection. False is the correct and valid answer. Establishing equality in a democratic society is a continuous struggle. Good job. Your answer true works well here. Which state was the first to introduce the midday meal scheme in India? Clear logic. Your choice Tamil Nadu is sound and 100% true. Who was the first headmistress of India's first school for girls? Perfect. Savitribai Phule is the correct choice. Thinking of oneself and others as worthy of respect is referred to as. Nicely done. Dignity is a solid answer. A large number of people fall prey to waterborne diseases because of. Strong choice. Unclean drinking water is the right answer. World's largest state-funded health insurance scheme is known as DASH. Well done. Basman Bharat scheme is the right choice. Civil rights movement was started against the injustice done the dash. Smart move. African Americans is an accurate answer. What kind of role citizens of India play in electing representatives? Solid response. Direct is a valid choice. Blood required for a patient is generally available at medicine bank. You got it. Your choice false is right. Why is there still inequality in schools despite government programs? You chose attitudes change very slowly, and it is correct. The book, which was written by famous Dalit writer Om Prakash Valmiki. Well done. Jat is the right choice. Women's contribution to our society has been better these days. Good thinking. Significantly is the right answer. Specific persons were allowed in India to use all the public places. Bravo, false is the answer. In which year did Supreme Court introduced midday meals in schools? Perfect. 2001 is the correct choice. Who was the person who refused to give her seat to a white man? Clear logic. Your choice, Rosa Parks, is sound and 100% true. Who is responsible for the well-being of the people in a democracy? Nicely done. Government is a solid answer. Who was the person referred as the spark of civil rights movement? Correct response. Rosa Parks is the most accurate answer. Which article of the Indian Constitution prohibits discrimination? Strong choice. Article 17 is the right answer. What should be changed weekly to avoid the breeding of mosquitoes? Smart pick. Water in coolers is the correct choice. Which was the first state to introduce the midday meal program? Correct. Tamil Nadu is the right answer. What mathematician concept is illustrated by balance in the image? You got it? Your choice equality is right. Water and sanitation are the responsibility of the state government. Well reasoned. Healthcare is the correct choice. The midday meal scheme was first implemented in the state of . Solid response. Tamil Nadu is a valid choice. Q8. When did the civil rights movement began and in which country? Right choice. 1950s in America is the best answer. Which article in Indian Constitution provides right to equality? You're right. Article 15 is the correct answer. Who changed the course of American history with one defiant act? Good job. Your answer, Pink Park, works well here. The Towa Dam began to be built in Dashahas and was completed in . Exactly. 1958-1978 makes sense, and it is right choice. What has been abolished in India according to the Constitution? Sharp thinking. Untouchability is the right choice. The African American community faced inequality in the US. Right again. Racial is a valid answer. Who preached one God, one caste, one religion for all people? Nice work. You chose Narayana Guru and it is correct. How much percentage of all communicable diseases is waterborne? On track. 21% is the correct answer. Which was the first state to provide midday meals in schools? Great thinking. Tamil Nadu is the right choice. Which was the first state to start midday meal program? Smart move. Tamil Nadu is an accurate answer. Article dash of the Indian Constitution banned untouchability. Excellent choice. Article 15 is the right answer.
The article which addresses inequality in our Constitution is...
Well picked. Article 15 is the correct answer. In which country are African Americans discriminated against? Valid point. You say is true. Hakim Sheikh was denied treatment at the government hospitals. Nice selection. True is the correct and valid answer. When was the Government of India passed the Disabilities Act? Great job. 1995 is the accurate answer. What does the Indian Constitution recognize every person as? Excellent. Equal is a brilliant choice. The film Diwa, which shown dignity, when it was released. Correct response. 1975 is the most accurate answer. When people are treated unequally, what is violated for them?
Well picked. Dignity is the correct answer.
Primary health services are provided dash by in rural areas. Excellent choice. Government is the right answer. What percentage of people can afford required medical care? Good thinking. 20% is the right answer. Every person has access to all public places except to dash. Strong choice. President's house is the right answer. Which of the following are present in a democratic country? Nice selection. All of these is the correct and valid answer. Dash is the most readily type of inequality faced in India. Perfect. Caste system is the correct choice. Why do you think the Ansaris were being treated unequally? You chose religion, and it is correct. The number of castes or varnas mentioned in Vedas are dash. You got it. Your choice 4 is right. The areas suffer from lack of sound healthcare facilities. Excellent. Rural is a brilliant choice. Ria is discriminated by her neighbors. What is violated? Right again. Dignity is a valid answer. When people are treated unequally, their dash is violated. Great thinking. Dignity is the right choice. Which was the first state of India to introduce mid-meal? Clear logic. Your choice Tamil Nadu is sound and 100% true. Our Constitution recognizes everyone as equal before dash. Good job. Your answer law works well here. Who is considered as the father of the Indian Constitution? Oh. Right choice. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is the best answer. The first social and religious movement in India was dash. You're right. Buddhism is the correct answer. Which of the following is the work of Om Prakash Valmiki? Nicely done. Jatan is a solid answer. The Ansaris were discriminated against because of their sharp thinking. Religion is the right choice. Dash was the first state to introduce midday meal scheme. Exactly. Tamil Nadu makes sense, and it is right choice. Right to vote given to all citizens in India is known as. On track, Universal adult franchise is the correct answer. African Americans had to dash out of the buses of Montgomery.
Smart move. Sit at the back is an accurate answer.
How is the will of the people reflected in a democracy? Well reasoned. Through elections is the correct choice. Jyotiroful was a social reformer from which state? Valid point. Maharashtra is true. Midday meal scheme was introduced in which year dash? Smart pick. 2001 is the correct choice. When did the Indian government pass the Disability Act? Nice work. You chose 1995 and it is correct.
According to Universal Adult franchise, every adult has.
Well done. 1 vote is the right choice. The dash ruled in South India between 800 and 200 C. Correct. Cholas is the right answer. The state that introduced midday meal program was Dash. Great job. Tamil Nadu is the accurate answer. On what basis Mr. Pod and Mrs. Ansari were treated unequally? Bravo. Religion is the answer. On which of the following does our good health depend? Solid response. All of these is a valid choice. In which states the midday meal was first introduced? Smart move. Tamil Nadu is an accurate answer. What are the key elements of a democratic government? You're right. Both B and C is the correct answer. We are represented in the parliament through our dash. Smart pick. Representatives is the correct choice. In the late 1950s, civil rights movement take place in? Correct response. Canada is the most accurate answer. Adi Hindu Mahasabha was established in the year dash. On track, 1927 is the correct answer. Kanta is a domestic worker. Are they allowed to vote? You chose yes, and it is correct. Civil rights movement was a movement of which country? Nicely done. America is a solid answer. Which one of the following is a communicable disease? Good job. Your answer diarrhea works well here. Q3. What is the age of right to vote in our country? Sharp thinking. 18 years is the right choice. Prakash Valmiki was discriminated on the basis of? Great thinking. Caste is the right choice. In mathematics, which refers to the term equality. Right again? Equality is a valid answer. Who was considered as the most powerful Chola ruler? Nice work. You chose Raja and it is correct. Who represents our problems in the Parliament House? Valid point. Mex is true. Mr. and Mrs. Ansari were not allowed to take the house. Well reasoned. Religion is the correct choice. African Americans were discriminated in which place? Great job. America is the accurate answer. Prakash Valmiki's lifetime was from dash to dash. Excellent choice. 1950 to 2013 is the right answer. What is the most common inequality in India is dash? Right choice. Caste system is the best answer. Indian Constitution recognizes every person as dash. Exactly. Equal makes sense and it is right choice. Only educated citizens of India are allowed to vote.
Well picked. False is the correct answer.
Which article prohibits any kind of discrimination? Clear logic. Your choice Article 15 is sound and 100% true. What were the benefits of the midday meal program? Solid response. Both, and is a valid choice. In urban India, people no longer believe in caste. Well done. True is the right choice. The civil rights movement first began in dash year. Correct, 1920 is the right answer. The idea of dash is based on the idea of equality. Good thinking. Universal adult franchise is the right answer. Tax money is used to fund which of the activities? Strong choice. All of these is the right answer.
Where was the scheme midday meal first introduced?
Nice selection. Tamil Nadu is the correct and valid answer. What were the benefits of the midday meal scheme? Bravo, both A and B is the answer. Mr. and Mrs. Ansari faced what type of inequality? You got it. Your choice religious is right.
Midday meal program has helped to increase dash. Perfect. Attendance is the correct choice.
The Indian dash recognizes every person as equal. Excellent. Constitution is a brilliant choice. Universal adult franchise is beneficial to dash. Bravo. All democratic nations is the answer. Every person should not be treated with dignity.
Right choice. False is the best answer.
All the people who have voting rights are equal. Good job. Your answer false works well here. Land granted to Brahmanas was recorded on dash. Good thinking. Copper plates is the right answer. What was the book written by Om Prakash Valmiki?
Strong choice. Jutton is the right answer.
Was Cantor, the domestic worker, allowed to vote? Well done. Yes is the right choice. Many new dynasties emerged after which century? Great thinking. 7th century is the right choice. Who was among these? An American African lady? You're right. Rosa Parks is the correct answer. Which type of inequality is prevalent in India? Nicely done. Caste inequality is a solid answer. In which year civil rights movement was started? Sharp thinking. 1950s is the right choice. The first Union Law Minister of India was dash. Correct. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is the right answer. Which state initiated the midday meal program? Nice selection. Tamil Nadu is the correct and valid answer. A caste that is not respected by other castes. Exactly. Dalit makes sense and it is right choice. African Americans are discriminated against in. Great job. USA is the accurate answer. It is unequal treatment between men and women. Correct response. Gender inequality is the most accurate answer. In which year the Civil Rights Act was passed? Valid point 1964 is true. On what basis were Ansaris treated unequally?
Nice work. You chose religion, and it is correct. The Indian Constitution provides equality to.
Clear logic. Your choice, all persons, is sound and 100% true.
When was the midday meal scheme was started?
Well reasoned. 2001 is the correct choice.
The government promotes equality through dash.
Excellent. Both 1 and 2 is a brilliant choice.
Who started the midday meal program in India?
You got it. Your choice, Tamil Nadu, is right.
India's first girls' school was started at dash.
Smart move. Pune is an accurate answer.
Health means to remain free from any kind of.
Perfect. Illness is the correct choice.
The Civil Rights Act was passed in the year.
Well picked. 1965 is the correct answer.
Which equation shows equality 5-4 equal to 10 plus 10?
Right again. 5-4 equal to 20 is a valid answer.
Dash ascended the throne of Rajaraja Kalai.
Solid response. Rajendra I is a valid choice.
The throne of Muhammad Ghazni was ascended by.
On track. Muhammad Ghari is the correct answer.
By whom are the public health services run? 1.
Smart pick. Government is the correct choice.
The land given to the Brahmins was known as.
You chose both A and B, and it is correct.
What is the result of the expression 5 plus 7?
Excellent choice. 12 is the right answer.
The term democracy means rule by dash.
Correct response. The people is the most accurate answer.
The civil rights movement of USA was about.
Valid point. Afro-Americans is true.
On what basis are people treated unequally?
Well done. All of the above is the right choice.
The basis for inequality is R dash.
Right choice. All of the above is the best answer.
Civil rights movement started in which year?
Excellent choice. 1954 is the right answer.
Which kingdom was founded by Mayura Sharma?
You're right. Juicy is the correct answer.
What is the age of right to vote in India?
Smart pick. 18 is the correct choice.
In which continent is Costa Rica situated?
Smart move. South America is an accurate answer.
What did universal adult franchise means?
Great thinking. Right to vote is the right choice.
Om Prakash Valmiki is a famous dash writer.
Nice work. You chose Dalit, and it is correct.
Rosa Parks was a dash woman.
Sharp thinking. American African is the right choice.
When was the midday meal scheme launched?
Great job. 1995 is the accurate answer.
When was the midday meal program started?
You chose 2001, and it is correct.
Rosa Parks refused to give a seat on dash.
1st December 1955 is the answer.
When was the Civil Rights Act was passed?
Good thinking. 1964 is the right answer. What is the central feature of democracy?
Right again. Equality is a valid answer.
Om Prakash Valmiki's autobiography is this?
Well reasoned. Jut is the correct choice.
What was Prakash Valmiki's wife's name? Solid response. Chanda Valmiki is a valid choice.
Rosa Parks was an African-American woman. Nice selection. True is the correct and valid answer. India is one of the biggest exporters of. Perfect. Medicines is the correct choice. Dash health services are profit-oriented. Excellent. Private health service is a brilliant choice. What is the work of Om Prakash Valmiki? You got it. Your choice, Jatin, is right. The Indian Constitution recognizes dash. Exactly. Equality makes sense and it is right choice. Prohibition of discrimination stated in. Well picked. Article 15 is the correct answer. What are the key features of democracy?
Strong choice. Equality is the right answer.
Dash is the key features of democracy. Correct. Equality is the right answer. Rashtrakutas were subordinate to whom? Good job. Your answer, Chalukyas, works well here. Universal adult franchise is based on. On track. One man, one vote is the correct answer. Midday meal program launched in Dash.
Clear logic. Your choice 2001 is sound and 100% true.
Rumpi means rural medical practitioner.
Nicely done. False is a solid answer.
Juthan autobiography was written by.
Good thinking. Om Prakash Valmiki is the right answer.
Central feature of democracy is dash.
You chose equality, and it is correct. What is not the element of equality?
Nicely done. Religion is a solid answer.
Which is a key feature of democracy? Excellent choice. Equality is the right answer. Who drafted the Indian Constitution? Nice selection. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is the correct and valid answer. Eq is the Latin root word meaning. Great thinking. Equal is the right choice. Diarrhea is a waterborne disease.
Smart move. True is an accurate answer.
People need to be treated with dash. Clear logic. Your choice dignity is sound and 100% true.
Every Indian citizen has dash a vote.
Right again. One is a valid answer.
In which year was Om Prakash Valmiki?
Well done. 1950 is the right choice.
Which article addresses inequality?
Solid response. Article 15 is a valid choice. The book Jutan represents dash.
Right choice. Case discrimination is the best answer.
The TMEMS was formed in the state of? Perfect. Madhya Pradesh is the correct choice. Who started the midday meal scheme?
Strong choice. The Indian government is the right answer.
Who is the author of book Juthan?
On track. Om Prakash Valmiki is the correct answer.
Kantha is happy and exited to dash. correct is the right answer. In the USA dash were discriminated. Well reasoned. African American is the correct choice.
When was midday meal was started?
Valid point. 2001 is true. Dash abolished the untouchability. Sharp thinking. Article 17 is the right choice. Every person is equal before law. Correct response. True is the most accurate answer. Whose autobiography is Juthan? Well picked. Om Prakash Valmiki's is the correct answer.
Rajaraja Chola invaded Sri Lanka?
Great job. True is the accurate answer. The founder of Chola dynasty was? You're right. Vijayalaya is the correct answer. Who wrote Constitution of India?
Smart pick. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is the correct choice.
Facing discrimination means dash. Nice work. You chose both 1 and 2 and it is correct. We all have equal right to dash. Good job. Your answer vote works well here.
Dash is a famous Dalit writer.
Bravo. Om Prakash Valmiki is the answer. Is India a democratic country? Excellent. Yes is a brilliant choice. Rumps is the short form of dash.
You got it. Your choice registered medical practitioners is right.
Universal adult franchise mean? Exactly. Political equality makes sense and it is right choice. Who wrote Indian Constitution? Good thinking. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is the right answer. The conditions in a slum are? Bravo. Unhygienic is the answer. Father of Indian Constitution. Great thinking. Bhimrao Ambedkar is the right choice.
I am this Om Prakash Valmiki.
Smart pick. Dalit writer is the correct choice. What is the result of 8 plus 9? Nice selection. 17 is the correct and valid answer.
Who was Om Prakash Valmiki?
Correct. Famous Dalit writer is the right answer. Juthan is written by dash. Right again. Om Prakash Valmiki is a valid answer. What is the sum of 5 plus 7? Correct response. 12 is the most accurate answer.
Why was Kantar's Bati ill?
Well picked. Drainage behind her house is the correct answer.
Good health depends upon?
Perfect. All of these is the correct choice. What does democracy mean? Strong choice. Equal right to vote is the right answer. The term Dalit means dash. Well done. Broken is the right choice. India is a dash country. Nicely done. Democratic is a solid answer.
Who wrote Kitab-ul-Hind?
You got it. Your choice Barone is right. Rosa Parks was in dash. Excellent choice. African American is the right answer. Health is a state of. Sharp thinking. Both 1 and 2 is the right choice. Who was B.R. Ambedkar? Clear logic. Your choice father of Indian Constitution is sound and 100% true.
The Civil Act was in?
Smart move. 1964 is an accurate answer.
Who written Juthen?
Nice work. You chose Om Prakash Valmiki, and it is correct.
Who is Kanta Devi?
Good job. Your answer, a domestic worker, works well here. Who was Rosa Parks?
Valid point. African American woman is true.
Abuse of you dash.
Excellent. Groups of villages is a brilliant choice.
What is equality?
You chose be equal, and it is correct.
Rosa Parks wasn't? Exactly. Afro-American makes sense, and it is right choice. India is a dash. Great job. Democracy is the accurate answer.
Dalit refers to.
Well reasoned. Broken is the correct choice.
Rosa Parks was.
On track. African American is the correct answer.
Pete stands for.
You're right. Primary health care is the correct answer.
Who was Kanta?
Solid response. Domestic worker is a valid choice.
Dalit means.
Right choice. Broken is the best answer.
How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books for format.
You're right. Contact Narayan Changda on Facebook is the correct answer.